Hey, what's going on, guys? Alright, so I'm going to give you a little tutorial walkthrough on this iPad Pro 12.9-inch screen replacement. Now, I know a lot of these people in the tech industry shy away from these repairs since it does take a lot of soldering to get done on these repairs itself, but luckily I have the knowledge and skill set to perform these repairs relatively easily, which is definitely good for me and my customers. Customers are very happy every time I complete the repairs. So we're going to start here. We're going to basically coat the whole flex cable with flux. I have a little method called overflux over solder. I mean, it never hurts anyone. When you go ahead and overflux, put enough solder on there, and it kind of just molds to its proper position. You get no bridging in the solder, none of that nonsense. I mean, if you do, feel free to add more flux to it, less solder, and it goes away pretty quickly. You notice I'm using the tweezers to hold down the cable, so everything kind of gets held down so nothing's separating away from the cable itself. So I counted these pins to roughly probably around 100 of them. These didn't take me too long to finish, which is good. I got this done probably in about 30 minutes or less from start to finish. And I know we're starting kind of in the middle here. You didn't see me take apart the iPad, but you can find other tutorials online how to take it apart. It's relatively easy. I just want to focus on the harder part, and that's the soldering of this cable that you need to desolder from the old screen to this new screen. So I'm just gonna, fast forward here if I can, and basically you'll see me do touch-ups, just solder back and forth. But if you guys look at it, you can see it's relatively straightforward. You just lay the cable on top of the old connector you got off the old screen and just solder away. You don't necessarily need a microscope. It doesn't hurt to use one. Alright, so now we're going to proceed and we're going to wipe down the coated flux area with acetone. I'm using, I believe it's like denatured acetone. You can buy it at any hardware store such as Home Depot, Lowe's, what have you. But yeah, put on a Q-tip, make sure the surface is nice and clean. All of the solder joints are very shiny, and you don't want any left over. Alright guys, now this is me taking the tweezers and kind of prying up on the edges to make sure that nothing is loose after the solder job was complete. But nonetheless, sometimes these things don't come out exactly as you want them to. So you're going to see me kind of tin my tip on my soldering iron and go back at one more edge for a light solder touch-up. Now here I go, boom, boom, a couple dabs, and then it's good to go. So then I repeat the process, just put more acetone on the board, clean it up, and then I move on to the next part. Alright, so next I place some Kapton tape on top of the recently soldered joints here on top of the board. This is so these conductive pieces don't interfere with anything else in the board because it lays right on the back of that LCD panel. So you want to keep that away from any other metal surfaces, and you do that by placing some Kapton tape. And you're going to see me here place it on, get it nice and straight, and then proceed to do a nice little test fit on the board. Make sure everything kind of plugs in the way it should, everything lays down. But this is basically prepping just to test how I did in the next part of the video, so we don't actually secure everything down as of yet until we know the screen does turn on and function and we have to do no other solder touch-ups, resoldering, desoldering, resoldering, anything of that nature after the fact. So stay tuned. So I went ahead and tested this LCD, the new LCD off camera. Everything tested fine, touch worked great. So you're going to see me here just unplug the flex cables on the motherboard itself. And then I'm going to go ahead and finish securing all the connectors in the back of the board. Make sure they're nice and flush with the back of the panel. Nothing's loose. Everything's nice and fitted the way it came out of factory. So that was me showing you guys it sort of together. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up securing the Touch ID home button here on the back of the panel, and then put some extra adhesive down, undo some of the tape covering some adhesive on the back side of the flex cables there so it secures the back of the panel the way it should. And once all that's done, I'm going to proceed and move on to the body of the iPad, the back housing, and scrape any residue over I missed previously, the adhesive residue, and make sure that new adhesive has a nice clean surface to sit on so that new screen it suctions down the way it should, and it's not going to lift up in the future. Last step, guys. So we go ahead and prep this front screen, take off some extra plastics covering the front camera glass to make sure it's nice and clean. Remove that. Go ahead and line up those connectors to the board. And you want to hear a nice click sound once you push them in. That's a good sign that you have a nice secured connection, and you're definitely on the right track. So after those are connected properly, go ahead and grab that bracket and secure those screws in. I believe there's 3 of them. Screw those in and finish up the repair. Here I go, turning on the iPad. Make sure it turns on before I put this final bracket in. I'm going to go ahead and screw these screws in place. And then once these screws are nice and in place here, I can finally lay down that screen. there you have it, guys. A finished iPad Pro 12.9-inch screen replacement. All the solder, all that good stuff completed. Screen works great. Touch works great. Customer couldn't have been happier after repair was finished. Touch ID works. Tone button works. Power button works. Everything works, guys. This really isn't as hard as a lot of people say, so that's good. Feel free to leave your comments, questions, concerns in the comments below. This is my first video, so don't be too hard on my kind of voiceover I did. So take it for what it is. Repair video showing you the nitty-gritties of one of the harder repairs in the tech repair business. If you want to get one repaired through me, feel free to send it in. I'll leave all that information, or I'll send it to you if you're wanting to get it done as well. Thank you, guys. This is Jeremy with iDevice Repair in Orlando, Florida. Thanks again.